I wanted to create a blend that I felt was missing in the UK. I think that you make a decision when you open a coffee shop. You either go left or you go right. You either choose old school Italian, which is thick and forgiving and much easier for your staff to actually produce a decent coffee. Or as you increase the quality towards specialty grade, it thins and the crema becomes yellow. And either way, you only have 50% of the market, whichever way you choose. So I wanted to create something that was a little bit more centric, that's something that had the properties of the Italian, the thick, lovely, old school Italian, that was easy to make and forgiving, and whether you were making 14 grams or 16 grams or 18 grams, you got a pretty decent result. But using the above 82 specialty grade coffee that would thin it and just find that point in the middle where the two would made a very, very high quality espresso that was clean at the end. I always found it odd that you were to take beans from all over the world, from Central Africa to South America. They were different sizes, they were different densities, from Brazil to Ethiopia. They're just two complete opposites as a coffee bean goes. And I always wondered how you took all of these beans and mixed them together and put them in one oven and expected them to all come out correctly roasted. For me, that was like putting chicken, beef, pork and fish in the oven and expecting them to come out the same, perfectly cooked. So we started playing as a 2-year project, and we started getting nerdy and we started sieving the coffee beans into different sizes, just like a chef would chop the meat up into cubes to put them in a pie to make sure that the beef, the chicken, the pork would all cook at the same time or come out finished at the same time. And from doing that, we started polishing the coffee and polishing, and it came out with this really unusual balance. And this also made it very forgiving in the sense that whenever you made an espresso, we always got a good result, even if we made it wrong. The blend developed from using 60% Brazil, which gave us what we wanted, this sort of very heavy body, this creaminess, the crema, and it's the chocolatiness that makes the old school Italian espresso. But in the middle, that's where we invested heavily, and we bought this really extraordinary Guatemalan that gave it this really velvety texture, where a lot of the other coffees tend to start to thin off. We wanted to keep that really heavy. And then at the end, there's this 20% Ethiopia Sidamo, that if there was a flower that was called a plum jasmine, that's what it would smell of. And we wanted to finish with this beautiful sweet jasmine finish, where a lot of other coffees, this is where you really are left with the bitter taste in your mouth, or you're left with like you had 2p in your mouth, that metallic finish. We think the finish is everything in an espresso. It's what you remember, and it's what stays in your mouth for 15 minutes after. I think I've got to admit that the blend was, from the beginning of the designing of the blend, it was not just to create a perfect espresso. It had to work in the espresso martini. And so it had to lean towards this old school thick Italian, to be bold enough to make it through the shaker with the sugar and the coffee liqueur and come out as a perfect espresso. You want it to taste like a vodka espresso. You don't want it to taste like a vodka Americano, which can happen when you put the higher quality specialty coffees into a vodka espresso. And so I would say this is probably the only coffee roaster in the world that's blended a coffee specifically with the espresso martini in mind from start to finish of the project.